Hope everybody is doing good. It's Wednesday. It's payday for me. I have paydays on off days when people don't have paydays. That is because I have a federal credit union, which pretty much gives me my payments the same day or the next day, depending on when whatever company I work for sends the payments to the bank. At this company, it's Wednesday at latest. At other companies, it's been Thursday. Not that y'all asked any of that, but hey, I always give you things that you asked for or you didn't ask for. It doesn't really matter to me anymore. I used to be somebody who would cater what I talk about on my channel based solely upon what people would be telling me. Like, I don't want to hear this. Don't tell me about your life. I'm just trying to hear about the show. And at this point, if you're still following my channel and that is how you feel, I'm sorry for you, because I do what I want. Whoever likes it, likes it. Whoever doesn't, doesn't. I don't really care anymore. I would care if the people who are saying things were like big sponsors of my channel or something, and they were like, you're gonna lose your sponsorship unless you talk about these specific topics. Then I'd be like, you know what, you in essence are a large contributor to my bills, so I'm probably gonna cater to what you're saying. But typically those people are not even channel subscribers. They're just randoms. And even the channel subscribers who do it, I mean, appreciate the subscription, but in just a span of 2 years, I've seen how many people come and go. So I have to be prepared to keep going always, no matter who's on here. And the only way that I can do that is by making content that I enjoy creating and things that I like talking about. With that said, Reality TV After Dark crew, High Chiricity, these usually go up at 3. Well, today it's going up at 2. And you know why it's going up at 2? Because I'm going out at 8. And I have to spend probably a minimum of 4 hours with my client at the Social Security Administration. So this is not a typical day where I can get up late, shoot them a text and be like, hey, is it okay if I meet you at 10 o'clock instead of 8:30? No, this is a day where I have to be at the Social Security Administration office at 8:30 in the morning. And I'm going to have to be in there with my client for a significant amount of time, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I hope that it's as soon as possible that it's going to be done, but the other thing is, it's like, I don't know what these people think that I'm going to do. Oh, having you there and you're an official case manager, they're going to listen to you better. I'll tell you what it is. They got denied for their Social Security benefits. And they're like, can you come with me to the Social Security office so we can go and do an in-person appeal? And having you there makes it official, because they're not going to listen to me. Clients get that weird impression. I don't know where they get it from, but me being a case manager does not help them with those particular things. There's a few things that if I'm like, I'm a case manager, it might be useful for. Like, if the person was trying to get into not a psychiatric facility, but if they wanted to get a therapist or a psychiatrist and they just went in themselves to try to get it, they could still get it, but it might expedite it by me being like, I'm their care coordinator, and they need it urgently because of X, Y, and Z, like that kind of thing. But if they're trying to get housing, me being a care coordinator does not help them get housing. If they're trying to if they're trying to get more home health aid hours, why are you turning on a red light? If they're trying to get more home health aid hours, me being a care coordinator does not help them with that. A psychiatrist that they're seeing could help them with that, because a psychiatrist can speak to their diagnosis, or an MD if it's like a physical reason why they're not getting their hours for their home health aid. They can help with that. Me saying I'm a care coordinator doesn't do anything, but they feel like care coordinator is like, ooh, you're Superman. It's your channel and you're supposed to do what you want. And I sure do that. How dare you not talk about Cara Maria? Is that even true? It probably is not true. It's okay. I can go to bed. I can't see Cara Maria having a reason to feud with Angela, so that's not even believable, to be honest. It's like the wait is forever. Your day is technically, I guess, not even over. You're still on Tuesday over there. Okay. Bye. HY and then bye. Interesting. I'm taking a guess on whatever Ma deleted. It might be something about it's dark. Why is it so dark? Or it might be some Diddy comment. Let me check. Box Me Boy. Oh, that's a new one. Box Me Boy. Interesting. What kind of car do you drive? I drive a C-Class Mercedes. Or maybe it's a Maserati. I don't know. One of those. What kind of car do you drive? It's just that you know what you're doing. It helps with the process and makes them feel better. But what I'm saying is that it's not even like they speak to me about it like you're a comfort to help me do this. It's like you're supposed to do this, and then if they don't get what they want, they're angry, like you don't know what you're doing. And it's like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, but you don't know the limitations of what I'm actually able to do with you. That's my problem. I leave for 5 seconds and Ed and Cass come back to see the trolls. I just pulled that out of my butt. I mean, I figured. Good morning, Ed. Anyways, what was I gonna say? So I titled this on I'm too big on fairness. I'm not a rebel. I'm big on fairness. Something that happens in life, I feel like once you get to a certain age, you start thinking about patterns in your life and how and why things have consistently gone the way that they've gone. And I think about things that are happening to me right now. So to start at the end and go back to the beginning, or I shouldn't say the end because it's not the end. To start at the present and go back to the beginning. There are rules that I was given about my expense report that I spoke about before for my car. And if the rules that I was given, while crazy and annoying, if they were rules across the board that everybody on the team got, I would say, well, the company is just changing their policy and I have to adjust with the times. But I went around to my coworkers. I said, hey, coworker, what's going on with your expense report? Can you show me? Look at this. I said, look at this list of things that I allegedly did not complete correctly on my expense report, and show me yours to see that you did things differently than how I did them. So, oh no, I think I've seen oh no before. Anyways, they showed me their expense reports, and they were done pretty much 95% similarly to mine. And the things that I was told were wrong, which was the reason that it was rejected, were not rejected on at least 4 other people's caseloads. So this makes me extra mad, because before it would make me annoyed, but this makes me extra mad because it makes me feel like I'm targeted. When I'm targeted, that's what tends to make me do things that make me look like a rebel. And a label that I used to own, but I don't own it anymore, right? So, tracing this back, I remember when I was in 9th grade, we used to have a job if I was living in a dorm when I was 13 years old. That's when I first went to the dorm, 13. Didn't have my parents. My parents left the country, left me in the dorm. I was left to fend for myself at 13 years old. And when you lived in the dorm, you had to have a campus job to supplement some of your payments for the school, and you paid less. And it was a mandatory requirement unless you were willing to pay an extra fee, which only like the international students, like the Koreans, were willing to do. Like, we'll just pay the extra $5,000-6,000 for the year, whatever it was, so that my son or daughter does not have to have an on-campus job. So I had my first job, or one of my first jobs, was in the school cafeteria. There was about 5 or 6 of us that worked there. I remember this one day that we had a water fight. And now, I'm not saying that it was right that I participated in this water fight. You know, like, we're supposed to be working, we're not supposed to be having a water fight, obviously. But we're all throwing water at each other. I take like a bucket, not a big bucket, but like one of those smaller buckets, dump it on one of my coworkers. Another one is like throwing water. Then there was this the spray thing that people use to wash the dishes in the back, and somebody took that thing and like soaked me up in it. The boss comes out and sees me, who just got soaked with that thing, and it's like, "What are you doing, Mark?" Well, obviously I didn't do this to myself. I didn't say that to him, but I was thinking, obviously, guy, I didn't do this to myself. So what are you trying to say here? Am I the only one who is going to get in trouble and punished for this thing? He said, "Get out of my cafeteria right now." I'm like, whoa, this guy's energy is off the chain right now. So left the cafeteria. He actually called my mom and told me I'm fired from the cafeteria. I can't come back. I can come back in there, obviously, to eat, but I can't come back in there to work. That's what he told me. And I told my mom there was 6-7 people in there. We were all throwing the water back and forth. What makes this guy have the audacity to walk in there and not even ask anyone else any questions and just tell me, "Mark, you gotta leave. You're fired"? I didn't even start the water fight. I was probably the last person that even got involved in that thing at the very, very end. And I caught the worst of it. And I got kicked out of the cafeteria. So after that experience and explaining myself, because I spent so much time in school explaining myself. I've never been one who just does things out of nowhere. I've never been one who just says things out of nowhere. If you come to me and ask me, what was the reason why you did this? I'm not like, I don't know what came over me. I don't know what got into me. I'm like, no, this is the exact reason that I did it. I mean, you might not like my reason, but I have one and I'm willing to explain it to you. You can take it and do what you will with it. And I used to let people make me feel like that made me a rebel for being like, what's the rule here? And if it only applies to me, then what are we talking about here? Another example. When I was in high school, let me see, what has Mark mentioned several times before I get into my example? Because I'm kind of in my bag right now, to tell you the truth. So if I don't read these now, I'm going to be just going off. Okay. Civil expenses need to be, that's where the expectations need to be better set from the beginning. So entitled, Cass is out cold, put her in sleepy time. It's hi Ono, good morning to you. Technically, membership badges by Ma, baddie jail, not sleep time. I'm gonna forget my example. That's the funny thing. I'm already forgetting it. You were in a dorm in like 13. Yeah, I was in a dorm. I was in a private school. So the thing with this particular dorm is that I went to a private elementary school also, and the school was actually a school that was like connected to that same private school, if you get what I mean. You dig? So basically, you know those schools that have the high school and the elementary school, like people, it's like a small private school and people go to the elementary school, and then when they graduate they go to the high school, and the high school's like down the road and you basically know most of everybody. It was one of those types of deals. So I was always planning to go to this high school that I went to, so it wasn't like it was unexpected. But my dad unexpectedly moved to North Carolina and said, you're going with me. Me and him had a standoff. I remember he left to go to North Carolina. I didn't know what he went there for. He came back. He said, I got a job in North Carolina and we're all moving there. You're not, and I was 2 weeks away from starting my high school. He brought me like a book and some pictures and stuff of what the school looks like. I scoped it out for you, blah, blah, blah. I was just beside myself, and we argued for those whole 2 weeks. And then I told him, if you try to take me to North Carolina in that car, I was like, I will jump out of this car. Like you'll have to strap me down in the car, sedate me, like whatever you got to do to get me to North Carolina, but I'm not going. So eventually he just got so frustrated with me that he was like, fine, stay right where you are, do what you want to do, and that's that. And we didn't talk for basically the majority of that year. Um, you're supposed to have a water fight. Maybe you're a rebel. I still don't think so, to be honest with you. Like at the time I thought that I was, but now I don't. I think that I've been targeted and I think I responded. What's the word that I'm thinking of? I can't think of the word that I was trying to think of, but I think I responded appropriately based on my circumstances. Okay. What was the second one? Before I started reading this comments, I had a second thing on my mind. There was the water fight. Oh yeah. So I remember the second thing that I was thinking of. After school, myself and about 20 friends all went into the basketball court to play basketball. And I guess you're supposed to have a teacher there. You're supposed to have supervision. Listen, listen, I get that rule. You're supposed to have supervision in the gym because anything can happen to you. It's a liability, blah, blah, blah. The gym teacher's daughter was in there with us. That's neither here nor there. What's up, Jason? So, I wasn't supposed to be in the gym. I'll always give you that. I was not supposed to be in the gym, but there was 20 of us in the gym. So we were just running games back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We finish, and then we all leave the gym. And to get out of the school, you have to walk right by the principal and vice principal's office because it was not like a closed office. It was an office that had an open panel window where they could see you from when you were in there. They could see whoever was outside the window. So we were all walking by. And then one of my friends, rest in peace to him, is one of my friends that I mentioned that passed in a car accident. He was one of my best friends, actually. And he was like, he said, I need to get a Gatorade. So he was like, I don't have any change for the machine. The machine only took change. So he said, I'm going to go in there and ask this guy who was the vice principal at the time to give me some change. I was like, what? I was like, you're really going to ask him? Like, you know how he is. He was like, nah, that's my guy. So he went in there. He said, hey, I need like $3 change for the vending machine. Is that cool? Yeah, sure. Here, Victor. And so he provided him the change. So for me, I was like, oh, okay. So I guess we're not in trouble. So I went in there. I wanted to get something from the vending machine also. So I asked him for change also. Big mistake. He was like, what are you doing in the gym? What were you doing in the gym? I was like, playing basketball. He was like, who was supervising you? I was like, there wasn't a supervisor in there. So why were you in the gym without supervision? And he was like, and I was like, well, you did just see this line of people that all walked out together with basketballs in their hands. So clearly you are aware that I was not in the gym by myself. And somebody that was in there with me walked over to you right just a second ago, asked you for change. You said none of this to him. You handed him his change and he walked out. So why am I getting the third degree about this? His response to me is, me that the only way for anyone else to receive what you're giving me is to my name so you can have them all come in here and be like, Mark is the reason that you're in here. Nah, I'd rather take my solo punishment of whatever you're going to give me versus getting a whole large group of my friends in trouble and having them angry at me for getting them all in trouble when they were not going to be in trouble previously. Example number 2, like, it's not a problem that I have with the rule. If he came and told everybody, if he saw everybody and came out of his office and was like, hey, everybody, giving you a warning, or I'm giving you a detention like what I got, all you are getting detentions because none of you were supposed to be in there, fair. Because I would have to say the rule is the rule, and the rule is being delivered to everybody who broke it in that moment. So what can I say? You know what I mean? Like, I have no personal reason to feel a way about it. When I say rebel, I don't mean a rebel in a bad sense. I mean, like in what all teenagers do. Every teenager, but I still don't think that. Like I don't necessarily feel like I was testing a boundary. Cause here's the thing. When I'm disagreeing, I'm not disagreeing that it was testing a boundary. I'm disagreeing that it was intent. I didn't go in the gym like, hey, let me test a boundary. Like the group was going in the gym. It's like, yo, let's run this game. Let's get this game going. So I was like, I want to play basketball. Now I see a rebel in the sense of like, oh, nobody's in the gym. Let's get in there. Like this was actually a regular routine thing that we did almost every day. Like he just got mad because he saw me as part of the group. Because almost every day, school finished, we'd go in there, we'd run in there 30 minutes, 40 minutes, play basketball, and then we would leave the gym. And part of why we were in there too was because, like I said, the gym teacher was the one who was in charge of whether we could use the gym after hours. And what would happen is that his daughter would come in there. She would talk to him and she would be like, Dad, can we go in there and play? And he would say, yes. I mean, technically, that still is not allowed because he was supposed to be in there. But what I'm saying is it wasn't looked at by me as an opportunity to test anyone's boundaries. And that's the way that they would frame it whenever they would talk to my mom. Because that was like, they had my mom on speed dial. And they'd be like, he's just trying to do the most to upset us and make us like feel away and disrespect us, when that was just not the case. I had reactions. I did certainly have reactions that were rebellious to the unfair treatment, which is the same thing that happens now, but it was not the initial thing. So there was that basketball incident. There was an incident I got suspended from school. This is one of the worst ones. A guy came to our study hall, one of our friends, and like 5 of us. He was like, hey guys, you want these popsicles? And we all were like, sure. So we all knew that the study hall teacher would not let us eat the popsicles in the classroom. So we all stepped outside of the classroom and we're like, we're just going to eat the popsicles outside the classroom really quick, throw this popsicle stick in the garbage, and then we're going to go back into the study hall. The vice principal walked by. He said, you, and you, throw those in the garbage and go back in the study hall. You go to the principal's office. I remember sitting in there with my principal for, it had to be at least an hour, and asking her, can you justify the reason why I'm in here talking to you and everybody else who is eating those popsicles is back in the classroom, no harm, no foul? She says to me, unfortunately, you know that the vice principal doesn't like you. What a thing for like a 17-year-old at that time to hear. Like, you're here because your vice principal just doesn't like you, so you get a different set of rules. So from that point of me hearing that, I had a response. Not meaning my response to her, but like my response in school, where I'm like, if I can literally get a different set of rules because a grown 60-year-old man has a vendetta against a 17-year-old boy, I'm not playing by your rules anymore, because I know that there's nothing within these rules that are to my benefit. And from there, things were like left. Things went left from there. The comment was just about the back comment, not the gym stuff. I feel like all the situations were like that. My parents asked if I wanted to go to the school my bros did. Oh, you're talking about with my dad? If you're talking about with my dad, yes, I definitely rebelled when it came to my dad telling me like, "Hey, you're going to North Carolina." I definitely rebelled with that. But like the examples that I'm giving, um I don't consider those rebellion. Now, the after effects of when I asked for some kind of a justification of why it was just me having this rule implemented for me, and my responses to that, yes, absolutely, I'm willing to call that rebellion. Not the before though, because it's like the saying that goes, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That's how I feel about that. So fast forwarding to my work situation, I already mentioned the expense report thing and how I asked my coworkers to show me. Um, I asked my coworkers to like show me theirs, and what I did was the same thing they did, but mine was getting rejected. Um, there's another incident at a previous job. What was this thing at this previous job? Oh yeah, I remember. So my job told me this was a job where my job now is like they give you the caseload. They're the ones who give you all the leads and referrals, and they're like, you gotta maintain this caseload. But at the other job, it was like, we're just giving you people's numbers. You just call them up, and you're supposed to engage them, and you're supposed to explain to them why they need your service. Because there was no outreach and enrollment team. Like, you were doing all that stuff yourself. So I'm going along. They tell me we need you to have a caseload of 25. And I said, okay. So I started. They did like a month and a half of training where you didn't even have to um, see any clients yet. So like first month and a half, you didn't have to see any clients. Probably a month and a half in, they were like, we want you to try to secure one client a week. I said, okay, that's doable. So I'm doing one client a week. They're like, you've done well with these 4 people that you built up. Now we're gonna try for 2 clients a week. Okay, so think about the numbers. One, 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 one. I'm at 4. Then two, 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 two. I'm at 12. You know, and then they're like, let's try for 3. Now that's saying that's if everybody that I reach out to says yes. So that was just a goal, to be honest. So sometimes it was like 50-50 whether they wanted to sign up for my services or not. Good night. Um yeah, so it's lagging. Okay, so where was I? See, that's why I have a hard time stopping to read the comments because they just throw me off. Can somebody remind me which part I was at? Let's see, I was talking about school, then I was talking about work, okay, and then I was talking about the expense report, and then I was talking about my last job. Okay, so I remember now. So when I was working with my last job, yeah, so they told me I had to get up to this caseload of 25. So let's say 6 months into the job, my caseload was 24, and they now told me I had to get my caseload to 30 because they made a new rule. I was at 24. The requirement was 25. Uh, excuse me. I was one away from that, and then they told me, now you got to be 30. So I was like, all right, no problem. So the next week, because we had supervision once a week, I now got up to 28. I jump into this meeting. In the meeting is my supervisor and two supervisors from other departments and a director, four of them in my supervision meeting. No warning. I didn't know they were going to be there. So I thought I was getting fired. I get in the meeting. My direct supervisor says, Mark, I just have to let you know that I have to write you up because you had 6 months to reach a 30-person caseload and you did not do that. So therefore, you're getting a performance-based write-up. I said, number one, when did you tell me that I have 6 months to get there? I believe that it's adequate amount of time. And I'm like, no, but you didn't tell me that I have 6 months. It's not in writing. You didn't verbally tell me. You didn't say this in an email. We've had at this point 30, 40 one-to-one sessions, and in none of them did you say you got to get to 30 by 6 months or you're getting written up. And as a matter of fact, you told me good job, good job, good job until about maybe 3 weeks ago, where you just started giving me this number requirement 3 weeks ago. So I wasn't even thinking on this number has to be achieved by this time. Otherwise, frankly, it would have been, because I would have just asked you for way more referrals because I'm like, I don't want to get a write-up. It's like, sorry, 6 months is adequate time. We don't have to have anything in writing. You're, what did she call it? Employee at will, so we can change the rules, yada, yada. So once again, I go around to my other teammates, not all of them, but the ones that I'm cool with, and I ask them, hey, what is your caseload at right now? Because I was the newest person, and all of our caseloads were supposed to be at 30. I'm asking them 16, 15, 17. Come to find out, we had a team of about 11, 12 people, and there was 2 people of that whole team that had a higher caseload than me, and everybody else of that team was below the number that I had. What reaction am I supposed to have to that? Honest question. Now, telling that to my mom's response, well, is there a requirement that says that you have to have a 30-person caseload? Yes. Yes, Mom, I'll give you that. There's absolutely a requirement that I have to have a 30-person caseload. But to me, there's a larger problem at play. There's 12 people on the team. There's 2 people that have larger caseloads than me, and there's like 8 people, if my math is right. 2 and then myself is 3. There's 9 people. Okay, there's 9 people that have less cases than me, which means there's 9 people that didn't reach that requirement, and there's 1 write-up. So my mom's solution is always on some, well, if you had the 30 that you were supposed to have, there's nothing they can get you in trouble for. The rebel label that I will own is the one that says to me, I'm not going to let people do things to me that they don't do to everybody else. A rule is a rule. If it's a rule that's enforced and everybody has to face that rule, I'm willing to follow the rule. If it's a rule that is only enforced to me. I'm going to ask you why. I'm going to make you, I'm going to put your feet to the flames and I'm going to make you explain to somebody. HR, uh, your supervisor, I'm going to make you explain to somebody why this rule only exclusively applies to me and not everybody else. And then that from there, that's when I'm going to push the envelope. You're going to give me another one. Okay, so you're going to give me 2 write-ups for something that 9 people are also not doing, and none of them have any write-ups. Explain that. Because I can come up with some explanations for it, and you're not going to like the things I have to say. And then if you try to do this HR is in it for each other type of thing, guess what? There's things like the Department of Labor, the EEOC. I'm like, in these last 5 years, I've learned that I am willing to see those things through to the end. You know why? Because at the end of the day, I'm not a CEO. I'm not a CFO. I'm not the chief clinical director. I'm not an administrator, the treasurer. Uh, I'm not a doctor. You know what I mean? Like, my position, I don't want to call it insignificant, but it's not significant enough that I'm not willing to sacrifice it to expose you. You have more to lose than I have to lose, frankly. And I was literally told by an HR department that they don't have to have metrics to tell me what the rules are to be able to get me in trouble for a rule. Like, the rule doesn't have to be stated, written, or told to me for me to get in trouble for it. Because whatever is decided upon is manager's discretion. So I'm not for that. And there was a time when I used to feel like, Mark, what are you doing here? I really did. I used to feel like I'm just sitting around making my life harder by not just conforming and accepting whatever they tell me to do. And I've reached a point now, closing in on 40, where I'm saying to myself, I can't tell anybody what the best method is for them to handle those kind of problems. I mean, like, for some people, they are conflict averse. Like, I had a conversation with a friend about this the other day that actually, works with me. And they're like, Mark, in these things that you tell me about, even if they're not fair, like the expense report thing, they were like, you know what? All I would do is I would be like, thank you so much for pointing out these errors to me. Whether you're the only one who gets that or not, still, thank you so much for pointing out these errors to me. Can I please sit down and learn from you about how to prevent these errors in the future and sit down and have a meeting with this person? Yeah. That's a way to handle it that is going to resolve the problem in the short term, right? Because in the short term, you're going to get the expense report approved. But in the long term, they're like, I wronged him and he's kissing my butt to try to get his thing approved because he knows I have that power. So they're more likely to do something like that in the future. So my view of it is, if I put in the groundwork to let the powers that be know that this person is misusing and abusing their power for a personal vendetta, now what happens is this person is going to be spoken to and they're going to be under the microscope, to where next time around even though I don't see the immediate dividends of these conversations that I have with these people, when I have those conversations where I'm like, why is this being done to me? And why is this not being done to anyone else? They have to explain themselves to somebody. And they might be able to explain themselves once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. But there's going to come a point where these people are going to tell them, Mark is providing so much evidence that this is just a him thing. And we don't want somebody in a position of power that is operating in a way that I would say actually puts the company in jeopardy in a sense by being somebody in that kind of position that is not able to treat their employees fairly. And the proof of that for me was, it took a very long time, 2 years as a matter of fact. But my boss at my last job got fired for doing that to me. And at one point I felt like I was wasting my time in making those reports and, giving that pushback, but it was for the greater good, because now she's not at that job anymore, and several people that would have been tortured by her are no longer tortured, and that's because of me. So I'm not going to tell anyone that there's a right path and there's a wrong path. There's the path to least resistance. But in just my mind frame and the way that I think, the path to least resistance gets the smallest amount of things done. Just because it's the easiest solution does not make it the best one. And that's always where my mind is going to be. And I'm more strongly convicted of that as I've gotten older. And, I really have, that's one thing that my dad really ingrained in me, because I used to feel like, why does this man make his life so difficult? Sometimes things have to be difficult before they can become easy. Because the things that are the easiest way to handle the problem are the things that are probably not really going to solve the problem. It's just going to mitigate it for some time until it comes back up again. You have to be willing to have those hard conversations, and you have to be willing to step out and put yourself in those vulnerable positions in order to make sure that the same thing does not keep repeating itself in the future. And that's just the way that I think. So I can say that I'm a partial owner of a rebel label, but I want to make clear that I feel like I'm a rebel after the fact, based on what is done in the beginning. And that's just where I'm at. And that's the funny thing. That's what made me realize my last job made me learn a lot. If you were if I was to show you the policies in my last job, I got 6 write-ups in 1 year. Based on what the policies are, with the time frames of the write-ups and everything, I should have been fired, because it showed within the handbook that I think 3 write-ups could lead to my termination if they're within a certain span of time, and I did reach that span of time for those 3 write-ups. So they didn't terminate me because they didn't have a reason to terminate me, and they knew it. And each write-up, I opened up a new HR report. They closed all of the HR reports. But like I said, that manager initially got transferred to another department away from us, and then she got terminated. And I didn't get terminated. I left of my own free will. That says a lot when when an employee goes up against a manager and the manager loses, that says a lot because the company will usually go to great lengths to protect and serve that manager. And shoot, I mean, that's why I am. That's why I am the way that I am today. And I'm actually, to be honest, like I'm happy for all those hard times that I went through in high school, elementary school, other jobs, you know what I mean? Like, because right now I'm so strong with my convictions, which is the reason why, as much as I can complain on here, as much as I can complain to friends and family and whoever, none of this stuff is breaking me. I break them. They don't break me. It's just not possible. Yeah, I have some dog days sometimes when I'm like, why are you just dogpiling on me for nothing? But I snap out of that real quick. It never lasts more than a day. I wake up the next morning and I'm like, I'm built for this. You mess with the wrong one. You're used to doing this to all these other people. You have never met me before. I never give up. I never give up. I'm good at articulating my points. I keep receipts. They even know me for that at this job. Like two of my managers told me, I don't want to mess with you because you don't get emotional. You speak your points very loud and clear, and you keep all the receipts to back them up. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of being that person now because I was the person who did get emotional. I was the person who would get into a certain discussion and then I would just get triggered. And then after I got triggered, I wouldn't be able to speak my points. Now I write them down. Before I even get in the conversation, I write them down and I'm looking at my paper as I'm speaking and I'm taking notes about what they're saying because sometimes they check off certain boxes, you know, to what I was saying, and I'll even take some notes about things that I think of in the moment. I don't miss a beat. I went to 3, but I didn't start at 3, so now I'm ending at 3. And yeah, I didn't have a goal to finish before 3. I said I wasn't starting at 3, but it's interesting that you thought that I was trying to. But anyways, thank you for joining me. And I appreciate y'all. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit the notification bell to get notified of when I drop some more great content. All right, talk to y'all later and have an amazing night.